Is it rats in the walls, or is it demonic forces from the other side? These are the questions that renters and maybe some homeowners should probably ask themselves, clearly, going by this movie. I'm reviewing Netflix's His House. Hey Twisted people, it's your Twisted Girl Next Door here, Chauncey K. Robinson, and today I am doing a spoiler-free review of Netflix's His House. Now, the way that it goes is that I give you my pros, cons, trigger warnings, my Emotional Carnage Damage Report, aka how is this movie going to make you feel, and finally, my twisted final grade. A refugee couple makes their escape from a war-torn South Sudan, but then they struggle to adjust to their new life in an English town that has an evil lurking beneath the surface. The acting in this film is awesome. And it has to be because a majority of the story focuses on this couple from South Sudan who have to make this escape from this war-torn country and basically how they have to move to this new place in England and what goes on there for them. So a lot of the scenes are the two of them and kind of what they're going through solo apart from each other, as well as haunting things happen within their new house that they find themselves in. So you really do need the acting to work really well and the chemistry between the two actors to work really well. And fortunately for this movie, it totally did. So that's a key component because I think with a story like this, if it didn't work, that would be like 50% of what could make this film do well. Can we give it up for the fact that we have some folklore and monsters and spirits that are not totally westernized? Yes. So that was kind of a breath of fresh air to kind of have essentially this movie is a haunted house sort of movie, right? But what makes it stand out is, like I said, the acting, but the other thing that makes it stand out is that the haunting is very much established in a different kind of culture. So I'm not going to say, oh, I learned something, although I did learn some things when it came to certain like entities of another culture when it comes to South Sudan and, you know, some of the folklore and things they believe in. But it was kind of like also, wow, it's not just the kind of demons that we all have heard of from this biblical verse that we all have heard of from this other horror film that did the same thing. And you know how it is with different horror films that kind of play that game. You know, there's certain demons that always kind of make an appearance in different ways, of course, because every story is different, but it's kind of the same. So it was nice to kind of have this story that pulled on folklore from a different cultural perspective. So you are introduced to a different kind of demon, a different kind of, you know, sort of cat, because my cat wanted to jump in this movie and totally watched it with me, and she agrees. The scares are legit. She wants to get on mic because she's a Hollywood cat, but I need to do this review, so yeah. This movie does a really good job of creating a scary atmosphere. This is a scary movie. It does a great job of creating the mystery of what's that in the shadows, what just walked past this character that the character didn't see as they stood there and the rest of us saw it. It does old school haunted house scares when it comes to the movie, but in a very intense way that really just works. There's some very relevant social commentary. And this isn't me even getting on my soapbox and what it's talking about. This is another great thing of having a movie, even though it's taking place in an English-speaking country, from the perspective of people maybe not necessarily from a westernized sort of perspective. Because what happens is you get a very relevant story of what, you know, immigration deals with, what immigrants deal with in new countries, what refugees deal with in new countries. And the story does that. It touches on it. Not where it clobbers you over the head with it, but it's there. You know, this is very much a supernatural movie. Don't worry, it's not going to be some bait and switch where the real monster is something else. Insert ism here. No, this movie definitely is a haunted house kind of story, but within that, it colors it with this social commentary on dealing with a new culture, being considered an outsider, some forms of racism, some form of xenophobia. And I think it actually does really well to play into the perils of the couple as they're dealing with this haunted house and trying to find help as well, because of the fact that they're under this pressure to not cause trouble, to keep their head low and be one of the good ones, whatever that means. So I think it does a really good job of doing that. And like I said, you can enjoy this even if you maybe aren't into those kind of films that have some sort of social commentary to it. But I tend to like some of my horror having elements of that, at least knowing that the person who created this movie exists in this world and understands that no kind of art or film exists in a void or a vacuum. So I appreciated that. My one negative about the film is that I do think it takes a little long to get started. I could also say that maybe that was just the film laying the groundwork so that when things did start, it felt like it earned those things and you're not just kind of thrown into it. So I can kind of give it half of that. But I will say in the beginning, it was about 20 or so minutes where I was like, okay, when is stuff gonna start happening? You get glimpses of stuff, of course, with the drama of what the couple deals with, but not so much the supernatural until a little ways into the film. So it does take a little bit longer, in my opinion, to get really started. The trigger warning for this film is child death. The Emotional Carnage Damage Report for this film is if you have issues of dealing with trauma and dealing with perhaps some form of PTSD and isms such as xenophobia and racism, you may feel some type of way watching this film. It will give you those feelings of frustration, of anger, and it doesn't do it so much so where, like I said, clobbers you over the head with it, but it's there. And so it's not necessarily this kind of haunted house movie with no kind of commentary. So you could just say, ha, that's those people in that house, not me. It's more so, even if you're not in the particular house they're in, the other things that they may deal with are things that we hear about on the news, things that we've seen, things that we've overheard, things like that. So it definitely is not one of those films where you can turn off your brain necessarily. My twisted final grade for His House is an A. Okay, twisted people, so that is my spoiler-free review of Netflix's His House. Did you watch His House? What did you think? Let me know. Comment down below. Do you have some other horror movies that maybe have a different kind of folklore that's outside of the westernized sort of folklore and demons and angels and things like that that we normally hear a lot of? Let me know. Comment down below with your recommendations. And also be sure to subscribe so that you are the first to know when I post my videos. Thanks for watching. Let's get creepy together.